Is America even innovating? Floating cities like Oceanics Busan from South Korea and stretch cities like The Line in Saudi Arabia are stellar examples of futuristic city concepts. But what about the United States? Are they even running this race? Well, they're a little late to the party, but yes, they are getting there. A futuristic city in the United States is a vision being planned by billionaire Mark Lohr, and today we'll be taking a look at the America's version of The Line, Telosa. If we take the word as it is, the city of Telosa would be clean like Tokyo, have the diversity of New York, and the social services of Stockholm. A gigantic metropolis in the heart of the American desert west, equipped with futuristic infrastructure and precisely designed highways and streets filled with autonomous electric cars. A future city similar in scale and ambition to Saudi Arabia's The Line. It is being built considering the fact that nowadays, cities house more than half of the world's population. This number is anticipated to climb to as high as 70% by the year 2050. Cities have become key centers for education, research, and economic opportunities for millions of people as a result of this. So, while cities have delivered significant growth to a small number of people, not everyone benefits directly from the expansion. This growing wealth disparity is exactly what Lohr and Telosa are attempting to bridge. To realize this vision of equality at the center, the objective is to develop a city in which everyone, regardless of socioeconomic or cultural background, has equal possibilities for advancement. An economic system known as equitism is what they are trying to propose. That's all good for the people, but what does this mean for the city? The goal behind this approach is to build a community whereby the residents would directly profit from the prosperity of the city. Telosa will control all the city's land under this structure, but its people will be free to build and sell homes on top of it. Ideally, as the city grows, land values will also grow alongside it. These revenues will subsequently be reinvested in the city through public services, transportation, education, and healthcare, so achieving the ideal of equality in which all people have equal access to high-quality services. So Telosa is a planned development that claims to be not just the metropolis of the future, but also an entirely new social model. In the same line of megaprojects like as Saudi Arabia's Neom, these proposed megacities are a response to today's developing challenges, such as overpopulation, pollution, and climate change. These future cities seek to reimagine what it means to build a vibrant city from the ground up, one that is sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and equitous for all its citizens. Now, we know we're too late for this, but what does Telosa even mean? The name Telosa is derived from the ancient Greek term telos, which roughly translates to the ultimate purpose, and it was first unveiled to the public in September 2001, and as we already know, it is the brainchild of American billionaire Mark Lohr. Soon after stepping down as president and CEO of American retail giant Walmart, Lohr declared his ambitious desire to construct a visionary project for the city of Telosa. The man in charge behind the master planning of Telosa will be world-renowned Danish architect Bjarke Ingels. He has previously been commissioned by Toyota to create a smaller smart future city in Japan. The core concept behind Telosa, and the reason as to why it's being planned in the first place according to Lohr, is to create a city with the needs of the people serving as its foundation, to focus on what's most important, culture values, and really putting people at the center. Yes, that sounds good and all, but where would you put an entire new city? Well, the city is going to be built somewhere around the Appalachian region over in the east. But out of all the available land in the United States, why are they planning to build Telosa in the middle of the desert? It's because building a giant city in a remote desert is dead land and cheap. Now, obviously, building a city from scratch in the middle of a hot desert while relying on surrounding resources sounds like a bit of a challenge. And to build a giant city in a remote desert in order to sustain a 5 million populous city, you need a lot of water, and I mean a lot. Where would you get it from? Even if you find your location with a water source, slapping a 5 million city on top of it will absolutely destroy it by sucking everything dry, and water reclamation alone isn't enough to solve this. Saudi Arabia's recent construction on Neom and The Line have clearly showcased these problems that Telosa might encounter as well as in the future, initially planned to be partially completed by 2020 and expanded upon in 2025. The construction is already behind schedule, but this isn't all. It turns out that building on undeveloped desert land first requires the construction of operating facilities to house construction equipment and personnel in the unforgiving climate. Some other problems that Neom and The Line are currently facing right now are high temperatures, water availability, and the energy impact of constructing an entire city from scratch in a harsh environment. Telosa will also be entirely powered by renewable energy sources. Each building in the city will have solar cells put on its rooftops, and wind turbines strategically positioned across the city will offer extra capacity to power Telosa. When it comes to electricity generation, the city is designed to create more power than it needs, making it self-sufficient. At the heart of Telosa will be the Equitism Tower, kind of like a beacon to the city, and also its tallest structure that will serve as an iconic landmark. The tower will feature an observation deck, an elevated water storage system, and aeroponic plants that will provide fresh vegetables to the city. Another aspect of Telosa's layout to consider is an urban design and transportation system that allows inhabitants to be within a 15-minute commute of essential destinations and services such as offices, schools, parks, stores, and restaurants. Telosa will even employ a combination of well-designed transit systems and autonomous electric cars, as opposed to The Line, which will be entirely pedestrian-centric, with a concentration on mass transportation. The city will employ the superblock idea of urban design, with heavier traffic concentrating on the block's edges and cyclists, and slow-moving EVs given preference on interior streets. This accomplishes two goals. First, it ensures that people can easily walk between blocks, and second, residential neighborhoods are far enough away from major roadways to minimize excessive noise. So, when can you visit this American dream? Based on the claims, Telosa's construction will be divided into two parts, with the first phase aiming to be finished by 2030. By this point in its construction, the city could house up to 50,000 people across a 6-square-kilometer area, about twice the size of New York Central Park. Once finished, the second phase of construction intends to create the rest of the city over the next 40 years. By this time, almost 5 million people are predicted to live in the metropolis, which would cover an area of more than 120 square kilometers. In comparison, Telosa will be the same size as San Francisco, but with more than 6 times the population living in the same area. With Telosa's ambitious long-term strategy and vision, Mark Lohr and his team must overcome one of the most difficult challenges in the creation of planned cities like this, and that is funding. It's not easy to persuade the government and private investors to lend you billions of dollars to fund a concept that may never become a reality. Despite the mounting environmental and financial challenges, and despite the fact that no construction work has begun more than a year after the project was first announced, Mark Lohr and his team remain optimistic and determined to realize their vision of the world's most sustainable and inclusive city by the year 2030. The overall project is anticipated to cost up to $400 billion USD to complete, with finance coming mostly from possible private investors and federal and state grants. In comparison, Saudi Arabia's Line is anticipated to cost a similar $500 billion US dollars, and, unlike Telosa, is entirely funded by the Saudi government's sovereign wealth fund. That being said, Lohr isn't the first billionaire to propose a futuristic city like this. Bill Gates introduced Belmonts, a smart city from scratch to be based in Arizona, and Elon Musk is trying to create a city called Starbase in Texas. It feels like there is a bit of a trend going on. But it's certainly possible that Telosa and the other futuristic cities will never get built. And even if they don't, the designs can still bring super important conversations for forward-thinking policies. And as the effects of climate change further accelerates, these are the conversations we desperately need to have. As we come to the end of this video exploring the proposed city project Telosa, it's hard not to feel a sense of both excitement and skepticism. On one hand, the vision of a sustainable, technologically advanced utopia is undeniably compelling. The promise of a city designed with the well-being of its residents and the planet in mind is something that many of us can get behind. However, as we've seen, the road to realizing this vision is long and fraught with challenges. The massive financial investment required, the potential displacement of existing communities, and the sheer complexity of creating a new city from scratch are all factors that give us pause. So, as we consider the possibilities and drawbacks of Telosa, we must ask ourselves, is this project truly feasible? Or is it merely a grandiose idea that may never come to fruition? Only time will tell if Telosa can overcome the many obstacles in its path and emerge as a successful, sustainable city of the future. Now tell us, do you think Telosa will ever be completely built? Would you be down to live in a city like this? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments down below. We'll see you next time. Till then, start saving your pennies for Telosa.